Tell me something good.
It's time for Confessions of a Serial Salesman. Author, expert sales trainer, and serial entrepreneur Steve Nudelberg wants to help you change your life and your business using his 27 rules for influencers and leaders.
Tell me something good.
This is the Confessions of a Serial Salesman podcast with Steve Nudelberg. Here's Josh Cohen.
And welcome once again. It is episode number 3, confessions and concessions to be made. You can tell that we're already thinking about football season and Hurricane Irma. Confessions of a Serial Salesman. It is episode 3 of this podcast. And congratulations, Steve Nudelberg. This podcast of yours blowing up just a little bit. Just blowing up just a little bit.
You know what? I think it's because you keep the bumpers on it, man. I want to provide value. These are conversations that salespeople and business leaders are having, and these topics that we're talking about each week.
Takeaways.
Do provide value.
Yeah.
You bring it back. I can talk, mile a minute, go wide. You keep it narrow. The guests that we're having are great. Today's guests,
unbelievable.
One of my favorites.
Infotainment, I like to call it. A little information, a little entertainment, a little compelling, but a takeaway, something you can use to implement, make your life better, make your career better. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing, is making the lives and careers of people just a little better with all that you do and when you speak and when you're right.
All actionable stuff. None of this, hey, I got to go deep and think about it. Little small changes create these gigantic action.
And when we got started, my Freudian slip there on concessions, again, we're thinking football season because it is college football, week 1 just done, moving in and out, week 1 in the NFL. And we're also thinking about concessions being made because Hurricane Irma is currently a Category 5 at the time we tape this, and we're keeping an eye on that. We want everyone to be prepared, not scared. No panic, just preparation.
Oh, I like that. Prepared, not scared.
Yes.
I like that. I will tell you, I have a little anxiety, in my, got up this morning and sort of checked in on it and starting to talk about wins 180 or so, man. That's
Category 5.
That'll blow your house down.
Yeah, that's a little frightening. Confessions of a Serial Salesman, 27 rules for influencers and leaders that will change your life and business, written by Steve Nudelberg himself. And we get into chapters each week on the podcast because there are 27 rules, and we get into each of those rules. And today, the rule that you want to discuss is rule number 27, give to get. Give to get. Before we bring our guest in, what do you mean by give to get?
So it's great. All of the rules work together. The first 6 or 7 rules are really about what you're doing in the morning to set up your day. Then there's actionable stuff about the mindset of a salesperson. But some of it is just life, how you live your life. And I believe the universe tells you the more you give, the more you get. Salespeople are programmed to go get me the business, get me the appointment, get me all this stuff. Well, as today's guest will show us, legitimately, the more you give, the more you get. And that's why we're on the planet. And it's why you see guys like J.J. Watt doing what he does.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. Just, $20 million in a week, pulling together what he's capable of doing. So he's not thinking of getting.
It's a connected world, though, unlike any other time.
True.
And in sales and business, you have to remember your audience has their own audience. So when you are always networking, remember, networking is one letter away from not working. You have to remember your audience on social media, they have their own audiences too.
There's no doubt when we're done, you're working with us. You are on board.
We'll see.
Our meeting the other night, you have ideas.
Oh, yeah.
You have actionable stuff that
sure.
we can talk about, actually taking that stuff to market. That's how it happens.
Speaking of taking things to market, let's bring in our guest, a CEO, founder of Photo and Go, Wallkeepers, owner of Successories. You say the greatest entrepreneur you've ever known, Steve.
My favorite.
Your favorite entrepreneur that you've
favorite.
ever known. Warren Struhl, welcome to the podcast. It's nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you for letting me be here.
There's a lot of pressure to be Steve Nudelberg's favorite entrepreneur.
It's crazy.
Of all time.
It's crazy. I actually lay awake at night nervous that he calls me that.
I hope your Twitter bio simply states that. Steve Nudelberg's favorite entrepreneur.
Please look at it now.
When rule number 27 speaks of give to get, Steve wrote the question, how can I be of service of you? How can that you wrote that into this chapter here. What does it mean when you see this chapter, give to get? What does that mean to you as a successful and a favorite entrepreneur?
Well, I grew up and blessed with a long lineage of family going back a couple generations who have in my opinion, written the book on giving.
All right.
I guess my dad, who passed away 4 years ago, in my book was the legend of giving. And actually, a quick story. I used to wake up once in a while in the middle of the night, go to the kitchen for some water. And my dad was owned a small business, but went into the kitchen and I'd see stacks of envelopes on the kitchen table, and my dad was barely seen behind the stack.
These are tall stacks.
Tall stack. And I said, what are you doing? Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. My father, on a weekly basis, used to put $100 checks in his many solicitations that came to his mailbox during the course of that week.
Really?
Whether it be religious institutions, hospitals, or educational institutions. He never, ever said no. $100 bills, $100 checks, and as many envelopes he can stuff. And literally, I couldn't see his face because he was behind the stack. So I was blessed in seeing this. So I was driven at a young age to do a lot of the same things. And I'm blessed with being able to, over the years, copy my dad and work hard, be somewhat successful, and give as much as I can. And I followed in his footsteps, I think, in a reasonable way.
By the way, he's pretty humble, too. I mean,
Humble at
pretty
that time.
successful.
Yeah, Warren Struhl joining us on Confessions of a Serial Salesman, the podcast, episode number 3. That's a pretty good example to follow. There is a saying that our character is defined by how we treat those that can do nothing for us. The philanthropic spirit of your dad, and clearly passed to you, these aren't folks that are going to do anything to help him directly, now were they?
Absolutely not. In fact, they had no idea who he was.
Wow. And it was never done with an intent or purpose for credit or to grow business.
Nope. In fact, when we were blessed in selling our first business, my dad asked my brother and I to anonymously give the first large check of our family, from our family, to a school that my father was attached to, and one of the guiding posts was that no one would ever find out that it came from him.
Why do you think this was your father's drive in life? There has to be an experience that forms and shapes your desire to just do for others without asking or wanting anything in return.
I got to tell you, his dad passed away when he was just 16, when my dad was just 16, and I would like to just suggest that it's in the Struhl family DNA.
Really?
His dad, his grandfather were leaders in the community, and just did the same exact thing 70, 80 years ago. So I don't know, maybe the water they were drinking in Jersey City, New Jersey at the time or something.
Jersey boy.
But it was passed down to my dad very clearly.
It's a special gift to have. Steve Nudelberg, you write in chapter 27, give to get. Give to get. It's putting the horse in front of the cart, if you will. In other chapters we've discussed, there's an order to this. For you, giving to get means ultimately what?
So, my story with Warren is we were in the Bahamas, we were working on a business deal, checking out a location. The end of the day comes, pretty excited. We're on the plane. It's dark. It gets a little windy. It starts rocking the plane a little bit. And I look over at him and I go, why would you continue to do this?
Yeah.
You've had multiple exits. You're very successful.
You don't need to do this. You don't need to be on these small planes and rocky winds and turbulence. You don't need to be there.
And he said something to me that's a game changer. And this is why I wrote the book. This is why I love being around him and people of his style and ilk. He said, I haven't made enough money to give away what I want to give away. And I wanted to stand up and go running up and down the aisles of the plane. I was like, wow, there isn't anybody that I have ever met that said that. And so I think it's about focus. If you focus on me, and always about getting, it closes off the universe. If you think about giving and helping other people, he's been very, very, very good to me. I'm very fortunate. We have a friendship far beyond our business relationships. And you are what you hang out with. And so
the company you keep.
The company you keep. So, for me, it is learning that I have something to offer you first. And in the basic sense of sales, when you get in front of somebody who could be a potential prospect, if you're thinking about what can I sell them, what can I sell them, what can I sell them?
Very selfish, self-serving.
Right. Versus anybody who is in business, you can offer something to them. You can offer them advice. You probably can offer them a referral.
An introduction.
The minute you offer them a referral, they never leave because no one else does that. So, the idea that, oh, and by the way, if you do decide to get involved in giving, who do you think is on the board of all of these amazing charities?
Good things come back
It's
around.
the who's who of the world. They're giving back. So when I saw it in action, and it's not a one-time thing, it's not for the adulation and, all of the, nobody's standing around clapping for what he's done. He's involved in some stuff in Israel that when he shares it to me, I get chills and, when you can speak to it if you want because it's awesome. Man. It's really
By all
So
means. By all means.
You gave me an opening. We, my family and I, are blessed to have gotten involved with a children's home, an orphanage in Israel many years ago. 247 kids live in a place in Netanya, Israel, and I consider, my wife and I and my family consider these children ours. And interestingly, just last week, my daughter became the U.S. head of that orphanage.
You're kidding.
And is in charge of helping
Congratulations.
these children who are subject to abuse and all kinds of other issues in Israel, and were brought in by an unbelievable person named Yehuda, who's become my brother in Israel and runs this place and really has created lawyers, doctors, and hugely successful people from this home, literally some of the kids from birth that have entered into the home. So
That's
yes,
amazing.
I'm
How do you
blessed.
put a monetary value on that?
My-
You don't.
And my daughter now taking over, 20 years later to do this. She's just 23. It's a pretty big deal for us.
So this really is in the DNA. This is in the Struhl DNA. This is because some would say, leaning on my psychology background, you saw your dad, the stock of the envelopes late at night when you get to water, and you said, because we all want to make our dads proud, right? Part of what drives you is a desire not only to keep that legacy, but also to earn that pride, to know that somewhere, somehow he's proud of you. And now your daughter's following same suit.
Exactly.
There's no rebellion here.
Exactly.
There's no entitlement here.
You got it.
That's an amazing principle I wish
None
to live.
whatsoever,
And what a gift to pass down from the family. Warren Struhl joining us on the Confessions of a Serial Salesman. Steve Nudelberg, myself, Josh Cohen. It's a rule in the book, but it's really a way to live life. I have learned myself, and you see it now, there is something addictive. There is an addictive quality to helping others. Not everyone can write a check, not just one, but hundreds for a $100 bill. But when you saw the storm coverage, people on jet skis and in boats in Houston doing what they could, they're like, on to the next one. Who else now can we help? What more can we do? There is something addictive, not because of the credit you're going to get, but the feeling that it is that you're somehow enriching mankind.
It's really well said. I never looked at it as an addiction, but as you said
It
the
is.
word, I guess I am. I guess
what
I am.
you said on the
and
plane. You said that.
and
That's
I'm-
how you framed it up. It was
Yep.
like, this is who I am, which I think makes you a different person in the business world. You're different than a lot of the people I deal with. That's what I love about you. It's great.
It's giving to get is chapter 27. The basis for you to write this, Steve, in your book was what? The idea that said, here's a chapter, here's why we must share this idea. What are people doing wrong?
So as a serial networker, I meet people, and my first instinct is to listen to what they're saying and see who in my world I can introduce them to that can help them. It's kind of funny because it leads to the other rule that I want to talk about today, which is if you pay attention, you can learn lots from the people that are around you, not necessarily for sales or whatever, but what value can I bring to you right up front? Because people then say to themselves, they go, wow, I'm not even doing business with this guy yet, and he's already brought me value. No, think about the people who sell you stuff year in and year out, and you see them only one time a year. Insurance brokers are, notorious for this. They show up, they do the renewal, and they're gone. Well, how many other businesses does that insurance broker deal with that they could just make an introduction and say, by the way, here's somebody you should meet? So as a rule, I grew up knowing that the power of the people around me, I'd always be able to help somebody do something, even if it was just the knowledge. And that's how Warren and I met. We actually met, I don't know if you remember, we actually met with Michael Yormark at a Panther game. We were in a suite, and we didn't really know each other. At that time, Brooklyn Bagels was a sponsor.
Really?
And we went downstairs to get bagels. Man. I was like,
Yeah, we had a bagel with cream cheese.
We had a bagel with a
A
schmear.
sesame bagel.
And that was the bond.
And
That was the vibe. The moment.
Actually, he said to me, he goes, which what I love, was no agenda. Hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. I went up to his office.
That's your world.
Nice.
You don't do
So
lunches.
great.
You do 5 cups of coffee a day.
Let's grab a coffee. We got coffee. He shared with me a new project that he was working on. I love the project. He thought I could add value, and the next thing you know, we were working on sheets. So it was
Amazing.
it was incredible, and it's been that kind of ride. And he's, the value of us, the knowledge I was able to give him from a sales perspective in a couple of the businesses that we've worked on together really saved the learning curve. And that's really our value proposition in the marketplace, is that if you could learn stuff real fast, you don't make the same mistakes.
Right.
So, that, and
Avoid
he's
that.
a master.
Warren Struhl is our guest on Confessions of a Serial Salesman, CEO and founder, Photo and Go, Wallkeepers, owner of Successory, Steve Nudelberg's favorite entrepreneur. I often say, I advise people constantly on the air, off the air. It is not what we do, it is why we do it. Because I can do the right thing for the wrong reason. I can help the attractive young female get her bag in the overhead compartment on the plane. Right? For the wrong reason.
Oh, that's a great one.
And sometimes you can do the wrong thing for the right reasons, if you will. It's your motivation behind it. When you come from a family that doesn't want credit, that isn't trying to have buildings named after, perhaps, per se, but it's because your intent, it's the motivation. You're doing it just because it's the right thing to do. It's the good thing to do. Doesn't it seem like when you're good to the universe is good back to you?
It's proven itself. It's proven itself through my life, and I'm sure that it will continue to go that way. And it's just again, it worked for the Struhls for many generations, and I'm going to continue as hard as I can to make that happen.
That's why we do it. It's the motivation behind it. Doing the right thing. Business, perhaps.
Well,
because of mutual benefit, right?
I think
All business has to be, for it to work, it has to be symbiotic.
And I think that part of what he brings to the table is this vision. He sees things differently than...
How so?
So every single thing that you've been involved in has been a trend. And I would love you to speak about this,
Sure.
because you see behavior that could or should change, and you've done things about that. And I can't think of any more powerful way to be in business than to pick up those trends and satisfy. And some of the stuff that's in your pipeline is still
You're seeing trends before they become trends.
Oh,
Well, it's interesting. If I look back in my crazy history, 28 years or so being an entrepreneur, and I too wrote a book a few years ago called "Starting Them Up," which sort of documents some of these trials and tribulations. And I'm just not afraid to get up at bat. I mean, that's just sort of the theme of the book. Not afraid at all. And I guess the theme of a bunch of my businesses, both past and current, is I see things a little bit differently, opportunities differently within really big industries. So 3 quick examples. My
Please.
first business was in the paper business. And when I founded my first company, Paper Direct, and in the late 80s, people thought I was just crazy. I was going to sell paper for laser printers and inkjet printers by mail. Paper is really heavy. Paper, no one knew what a laser printer was. They were $12,000. And under the nose of International Paper and Weyerhaeuser and Georgia Pacific, they all laughed at me. And just a couple of years later, we built a close to $100 million business. We were shipping 15,000 orders a day internationally, and again, right under the noses of the paper giants, and no one understood what I was doing until about 2 years into it. Next business was the snack food business. I started a popcorn business. Just thought that there was no good popped popcorn in the marketplace. It was everything was microwaved, if you will, and started a company called Popcorn Indiana.
Which, if you could speak real quickly to how that started with our friend Isaiah.
Sure. I came up with the idea of really my obsession with Howard Schultz redefining, reinventing coffee. And coffee business, and made it a social thing. My first start in the popcorn business was actually creating popcorn bars, actual places where you can sit, share a bowl of popcorn, because even strangers put their hands in the same bowl and share a bowl of popcorn.
Strange.
It's really, really social.
Yeah.
Little lemonade on ice, and that was the original concept. As Steve mentioned, got a call after I had a couple stores from a guy named Isaiah Thomas. He just came to New York City, and believe it or not, his agent called me because he said Isaiah is just obsessive about 2 things, basketball and popcorn. And can we meet? So I thought it was a sort of 50-50 that it was a hoax. But a week later, Isaiah and I went to lunch, and he literally got emotional, telling me how he grew up with basically very little food in the refrigerator, but he and his buddies used to wait outside the stadium and take out of the dumpster very large bags of excess popcorn, and that's what they lived on, literally lived on. And that carried him through for several years. And when he heard about our place and walked into my store in Times Square, he literally reached out to me and said, I got to be a partner. And literally within a month, he became a financial partner, a co-founder of the business. Crazy story.
You're almost creating a trend. There's a difference between seeing it on the rise and getting it at the right time and then dictating to the people what it is you know that they will want.
Correct. I mean, we literally started when I went from stores and then I went to Walgreens and Walmart and Costco. They looked at me like, well, we don't really sell this stuff. I said, of course, because no one ever offered it to you. Take a bag, put it in your mouth, hear the crunch, taste the salty and sweet nature of this kettle corn. And literally from there, that fueled 15 years ago the fastest growing snack food category in the last probably 50 years. It's been on 15% growth. The industry in general, which didn't exist, 50 competitors today. And actually, we just sold the business last week to another snack food company, but it was a really interesting run.
You have to be able to see things differently, number one. And number two, he brought up another great point. He's got balls of steel. I'm willing to tell you something up front that nobody else
Can
is
you learn that,
about.
though, Warren? Can you learn the ability to see things differently?
No, zero chance.
You can't.
People think that they can. People want to be entrepreneurs but have no vision whatsoever. I've employed, thankfully, a few thousand people in my years, and some people think they really have vision of product or of ideas, of services, but you either got it or you don't. It's just innate.
Some folks probably have this within them, and they just don't know how to tap into that resource.
No doubt. But some people just really can't see it. They just can't see it.
So one of the chapters that I wrote about, which is called Learn to Earn, Warren, and I wrote him into this chapter because...
And we discussed this in the podcast. Rule number 8. Right. Learn to earn. Learn about before you can actually go and sell.
He would call me middle of the night. I got an idea. This is what I'm thinking about. Who do you know in that space that we can talk to? I said, here's 3 people. I bring 3 people to him and tell me this is because I wrote it in. He would look them in the face and go, teach me whatever it is you can about the business. And talking about giving, people give it up. They will tell you their trials and tribulations.
And they like to also probably share their stories.
Yes,
I mean, they probably also like to talk about themselves and their path.
So he would learn, and we would watch this process of learning and validating all of the conversations. So I think, the combination that Warren brings to the table is, this vision, this idea that he's willing to put himself out there. But there's a lot of learning that goes into this stuff because he gets a gut, and then he says, wait a minute, this is not happening, and I think it could. And, to bring it full circle, our photo business is typically, he calls me up one day and says, you have a favorite photo? I said, yeah. He goes, where is it? It's in my phone. He goes, have you ever put it on the wall or on your desk or whatever? No, it's a pain in the ass. Right? Well, I'm going to solve that. And he's doing it now. So it's correct?
Yes. I mean, it's, look, as Steve said, two of my favorite words are teach me, because I can read as much as I can, and I can Google as much as I can, but love finding the source of someone that's been through something, even if it's not direct. It doesn't mean I'm going to listen. And it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing just because somebody said, nobody's really sold these kind of products in the marketplace. But I want to hear it. I want to learn. So my first boss, actually, when I was in the real estate business out of college in '84, one of his first words to me was knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And those 3 words really changed my brain when I was in my early 20s. And I guess that's sort of the teach me, the Warren Struhl teach me line is all part of that. And I think it's imperative before you dive in, you learn and take that information and decide whether you still want to dive or not.
I was a college kid working in the summertime to make cash to go back to college again in the fall. Saratoga Racetrack, where the horses run, the beautiful thoroughbreds in upstate New York. And for the daily racing form, you'd hear the commercial running between every race. Knowledge is power. And another tagline, they said, smart people don't know all the answers, but they know where to find them.
Wow.
And Google, in a lot of ways, now helps you find the answers. But you were doing this before Google. You were smart because you realize you don't have the answers, but this guy does, and this girl does, and I'm going to take some of theirs.
I think I was the first guy, actually. You mentioned Google. I guess because my obsession about learning about different things. I was the first guy, I think, that signed up to Google Alerts. And still people today don't even use them. So I have 50 core Google Alerts on any single business, any single theme, any single interest. And I'm the first to know. Again, my phone goes off all day. But those Google Alerts that tell me something was posted somewhere in the environment of the internet that I am the first to know. I have a buddy in New York who's in the real estate business, and literally before any press hits the press, I call him and congratulate him because I read about it before he does.
Because you're aware of the trend before it's a trend. How much of this, guys, comes out of sitting down, looking around, and observing people? What they're doing, what they're not doing, how they're doing it. How much of this comes from paying attention to what the possibilities could be?
Well, I think it's all about that. I think the whole photo opportunity came to me a few years ago. Shutterfly's been there forever. Snapfish been there forever, and there's a bunch of other players. But something inside of me told me that so many people just still didn't physicalize their best, not all, but their best digital photo. And literally I asked hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 people the same question. I asked Steve, show me your favorite photo. Show it to me.
Right.
And at the time they had 50 pictures, 100 pictures. Now they got thousands. Well, let me ask you a question about that photo. Does it live on a wall, desk, or shelf? And you know what the answer was? It wasn't no. It wasn't yes. They got mad at me. Why are you getting mad at me? Did you ever hear of Shutterfly? What's your problem? You ever hear of Costco? Why didn't you physicalize it? And they gave me all the reasons why I started the business, because it was just hard. It was just hard. And today we're blessed to have been working on, for several years now, some really awesome technology, about to blow it up right now, right in front of our eyes, to really make this $5 billion industry of photo physicalization, we hope, into a market of 50. So
Amazing.
Stay tuned.
Warren Struhl, CEO, founder of Photo and Go, Wallkeepers, owner of Accessories, joining us on the Confessions of a Serial Salesman. The book, the same name, 27 Rules for Influencers and Leaders That Will Change Your Life and Business, written by our guy, Steve Nudelberg, who's been observing his favorite entrepreneur the last couple of minutes and learning in the process. You're learning in the process to earn in the process.
Every time I'm with this guy, I learn. There's one specific time that, and this is when you have a really, really, really good relationship. We go out for dinner, which he very rarely goes out for dinner, but
that's why I'm so scared.
we had,
Not.
We had just opened up the first Photo and Go store. We went across the street to grab a bite to eat, and so he says, "I want to ask you a question." And he goes, "What the fuck do you do?" And I was like, "What?"
It's a fair question.
And he called me out, and he says, "People ask me all the time." This was a couple of years ago. People ask me all the time, like they know you, but they don't know what you do.
Right.
And it was, again, one of those major lessons that good people around you shake you and say, make sure that you are telling people what you do and, live that life. And what I do better than anybody and what I have more passion for is business development and connecting people. And so the more you're closer to your passion, which it takes somebody with vision, which is why I'm so blessed, have this guy in my life, for him to say that to me. I was offended at first.
Totally.
I was like, right? No lie.
Totally
I was going to jump across the table and say,
You disarmed him a little bit.
Yeah.
Totally.
But he did it, and that's what a good friend does. That's what somebody who cares about you deeply. So I just feel so blessed that that's happened in my life. And I love working with the guy. He challenges me. He's pushed me to limits that, so why is he in the book? My book, is 40 years of meeting people, not exactly like him. And I have lots of great entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure of working with. The reason why I call him my favorite is that he just stands alone as the guy who rings my bell more than just.
Warren Struhl, congratulations on all your success. And for the first time, I'm going to say a sentence I've never uttered. I hope you never beat your addiction. I hope your addiction stays with you for the remainder of your days. This need to continue to help others and inspire others to help others because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what greater impact can you have with your life than positively affecting the lives of others? So congratulations on all that you do.
Thank you very much. Amen.
Appreciate you greatly. Steve, it's time for you to tell me something good. This is how you, as we mentioned on each of the podcast episodes, when you meet people, when you say hello, you don't say, how you doing? Hey, you ask them to tell you something good. So now's your chance to share with your audience just the same.
So something good this week is run for the hills because we got a bad boy storm coming our way. So this
prepared, not scared.
This is no game this week, guys. This is the real deal. They're already talking in Gainesville about canceling the game. Florida State talking about canceling the game. So be prepared, not scared. Is that what you said? That's good.
Be prepared, not scared.
That's an aha
Preparation,
moment for me.
not panic.
You know, I think that's really well said. And I know people have a tendency to stay behind and not heed these warnings.
Take it serious.
This one is one you want to, so something good is that we have the ability to plan for this. Go out and do it.
Listen up, Pope. Just do it. Just preparation, not panic. Prepared, not scared. All right, want to do it again next week? What do you think? It's going pretty good?
I think we're gaining some momentum, man. You know, we were Facebook Live today. Hello, Facebook Live.
I said let's do it again.
I say let's do it again.
Let's
I
do it
think
one more time.
we'll have some fun guests.
For Steve Nudelberg, Josh Cohen, reminding you.
My man, Warren.
And Warren, of course. Pick up the book, Confessions of a Serial Salesman, 27 Rules for Influencers and Leaders That Will Change Your Life and Business. This has been episode 3 of the Confessions of a Serial Salesman podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Ba-boom.